Welcome to the Psych Gym. I'm your trainer, Vanessa Perry, a former mental health therapist turned intuitive counselor. Much like a physical gym, in this space we'll aim to target specific psychological muscles and train them to be stronger. I'm so glad you are joining this gym. Let's hit the weights. Hi, lovelies. Welcome back to the Psych Gym. I sound a little bit better. I feel a little bit better. So hooray for hopefully my body regulating itself. Lord have mercy, I have no patience for not feeling well, that's for sure. All right. Today we're going to dig into something that shows up everywhere. It's sneaky as fuck too. It's in relationships, career, healing processes, social media. I don't even want to record this today. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you, I don't want to record this today because I wrote this script out and I only wrote one. Usually I try to, record a couple of these at once so that I can just schedule them and I don't have to sit down as many times. But I didn't finish any of the other scripts, so I'm forced to do this one today. Haha, universe. Haha. So I'm just going to let you know up front. It's something I don't want to talk about today. And hopefully that's comforting for you, honestly. I think one of the things I try to do is show up for you guys as a normal person. Yes, I have skills. Yes, I have knowledge. Yes, I dig into this stuff all the time and I have experiences and I sit with other people who have experiences. So I have like this wealth of knowledge. That does not mean I do not go through it. That does not mean that I don't put myself in situations where I have to heal. It's just life. Life happens. Other people are in your life and they become wild cards as soon as they enter into your life. Everybody. And so I try to keep it real. I try to let you guys know, hey, I struggle too. But here's what I do when I struggle, right? Because a lot of people see, oh, Vanessa, you do this, you do that. Oh, you must have it together. And it's like, I mean, I get it together, but I don't have it together because there's no such thing. You can't float through life without issues happening. Everybody has trauma. Everybody has sneaky trauma. So anyway, long-winded. We don't need to go going into that. You guys know. So here we go. External versus internal validation. This was a request from a client. And I was like, oh, that's a great topic. Thank you. And then I wrote out the script. And then I was like, oh, very funny universe. This was something I was going to have to talk about. Great. So to that person who requested this, camaraderie, we all have to deal with this stuff. And I'm going to read the stuff that I wrote that I know and say it to myself too. So yeah, I'm sorry. It's important to talk about. But here we go. Why does praise feel like a high and silence feels like rejection? Why do we chase approval even though we supposedly know our worth? Why does being seen by someone else sometimes feel more powerful than seeing yourself? This is the kind of stuff that we're talking about. And yeah, I know. When you hear it, when you say those words out loud, when I say those words out loud, it's like, yeah, I mean, this is an issue. This is an issue for everybody in different facets of life. So let's just tell the truth. External validation feels amazing. It's totally okay to say that because it's a human thing. And it's literal brain chemistry, right? We get like the tingles. You did a great job. You're beautiful. The heart reaction, for a person finally texting you back, your therapist nods, right? Or if you're me, as your therapist, I fist pump or I put my hallelujah hands in the air. I'm proud of you from someone that you were dying to impress. It hits the dopamine system. And for a minute, you feel amazing, grounded, enough, excited. Tons of great feelings can rush over us in these moments. Again, it's totally good. And we don't have to toss this out as trash and unhealthy. It's not. But here's the tricky part. When external validation is the only place that we feel valuable, we start chasing it like a drug. We get hooked on being seen in order to feel solid, praised in order to feel valuable, and we start to outsource our self-worth to whatever we can get to feel that, belonging or worthiness feeling. We're looking all over the place. And not everybody's looking all over the place, but that's kind of my blanket way of explaining a little bit about what we're talking about. So where does this come from? How do we get hooked on external validation? So here we go, right? Like, we're not Freudian, but he was onto some things. A lot of us learned it early on. You learned that your worth lives in how others respond to you. Sometimes I don't like the word worth. Sometimes I prefer to use deservability. It seems a little interchangeable for me. I don't know if you want to try that on or not, because there's just a difference. It hits more to me to think of being deserving, because that more directly relates to earning something and my brain can compute that, at least in my mind. I know that's probably weird, but y'all know that I think words matter, and it's an example of how they do for me. So if you can't connect to a word or a concept, it's totally fine to synonym it up until it hits. So anyway, back to, childhood belief system building. Maybe you were the good kid, praised for being helpful, smart, polite. Hello, eldest child. Maybe you only got attention when you excelled, or when you stayed quiet even, or if you looked perfect. Whatever the thing was that got you the most attention. We usually get hooked on that, right? Maybe you were completely ignored until you performed or acted out. That's how you got your external validation. Right? Sneaky. This is what we're talking about. There's lots of different ways that this happens. So now the grown-up version of you thinks, I must be doing something wrong if nobody's noticing, or I'm not doing something well. If I don't get positive feedback, it means I failed. If someone isn't proud of me, I probably shouldn't be either. I know it sounds like when I say those statements, I think a lot of us don't feel connected to that because we don't consciously know that those are the words. And so this is called relational conditioning. I'm using a term. Y'all know I don't like them, but we know what classical conditioning is. And that is, intentional. A cause is introduced, an effect happens, and we learned that those two things go together. With relational conditioning, it's pretty much accidental belief building. We learn in a more observational way. You see that things go together, even though no one may have just told you directly. And so this is the stuff that comes up. It might not come out in those words. You might not say, I shouldn't be proud of myself because nobody's proud of me. But that might be the function that's going on in your brain. And so that's why we have to sit with this stuff. And that's why we pause and we ask, why do I feel like I need somebody to tell me I'm doing a good job? So, we didn't choose it, but it did train us. It is there. And we don't have to go back and be mad at everybody who maybe created that, because most of the time that doesn't really help us as much as just having the information. So when these kind of things happen, you might crave that external validation, not because you're shallow, but because you never really had a chance to build internal validation in the first place. Zing. Or bazinga. I haven't said that in a while. A lot of people who were not raised in loving environments struggle with this in a big way. And I want you to explore this without feeling that you have to hate on anyone. Can't say that enough, because we're not trying to put ourselves on hooks. People sometimes don't give you these tools, but we don't have to go and place blame and get into this negative loop. We're literally just going back to get some explanations. And yes, sometimes we'll humanize and soften and say, well, if you didn't have the skill, obviously you couldn't have taught it to me. Okay, that sucks, but I'm going to learn it now. Moving forward. People who grow up in overly critical environments will experience this differently than those who were neglected, and also for those who were overly praised. On the outside, it will look the same because it's dependence on that external validation. but all three people have different core woundings to heal on the inside. So we know this. I don't like the blanket thing. It's a short podcast. And so we can't do the be all end all. Here's how it works. It's so individual. We have to remember that there's a dependence on your individual circumstance, and that will make a difference in how this is explored and how it's healed. But those are just some kind of little ideas of, how you're getting into the root of like, where did this come from? How did it happen? What was the environment that perhaps created the perfect storm of this within me? It takes some time. Sometimes we got to journal. Sometimes we got to go back into our memories and check it out. But we usually, at least in sessions, we usually can get a pretty good head start of what's going on. So let's talk about internal validation. What do we mean? It's not just self-love or positive affirmations. We see that all over the place. And while it can be helpful, it's incomplete when it comes to addressing the core of internal validation. It's deeper than words and performative actions. It's about your core sense of self. Internal validation is knowing that you did well, even if nobody claps, and also if people are side-eyeing you. It is letting yourself be proud, even if no one else notices or when they disapprove. I gotta say, you learn this part really well as a black sheep because you kind of have to. It's survival. You have to go, oh my God, everybody is not feeling what I'm doing, but I am. It also looks like trusting your process, even when it's invisible to other people or when it's attacked by other people. It's quiet knowing that doesn't need an echo or a mirror or a high five. In this world, it can feel really boring compared to the high of external validation. I get it. Especially if you're used to surviving through being impressive or celebrated or strong or whatever it is that you feel that you got this external validation for. I'm a champion people pleaser. It was like I used to collect my self-esteem through the amount of people who were happy with me. If I felt like a ton of people approved of me, I was like, yeah, I'm killing it. I'm doing great. But I still didn't feel great all the time. I often felt like I had to keep performing or I would lose my crown. Like no one could or would accept any faulted version of me. That meant building more shadow than necessary. Parts of me, events, feelings, all went into the vault to make sure that I couldn't be judged negatively or shunned. All that got me was hollow ego and a lack of self-love. So there's another way that it's weird, right? It comes out in all these different ways. So that's a little bit about internal validation. We live in a culture that literally runs on external validation. We see it in our social media, likes, comments, retweets. We have accolades, our dating app matches, a raise and a promotion at work, our loved ones saying things about how we look or what we're doing. It's just everywhere. And again, it's not all bad, but we have put a huge emphasis on how we affect other people and how we run our lives based on who's happy with us. Truly, it happens so much. And if you're already wired to seek that external validation, this world is designed to keep you hungry for it. Even healing, right? Healing can get wrapped up in performance. Crazy. Sharing your growth to prove that you're evolving. Wanting your parents to say you're doing great, I'm proud of you. And sadly for some, they're even chasing being told that they're loved. Sometimes we feel like no one sees the pain. And if they don't see the pain, it doesn't count. So we have to be louder and get people to validate how bad it is. It happens so much if you really sit and think about this. But here's the cost. When external validation becomes your source of self-esteem and self-worth, you're always waiting to be chosen, approved, applauded, and it will never be enough. And it also creates emotional dependency. even when you look like you've got it all together. Uh-huh. Yeah. I don't like making that statement because I've discovered recently that I have emotional dependency in certain areas of my life that I didn't think I had. I had thought that I had dealt with those things and I didn't. And I have been chasing some external validation. And I mean, I recognized it, and this is what we talk about. Is if we recognize it a little bit sooner and then we start to do things, good deal, right? We can back the train up. And so every time that we discover it as it's happening, it's usually a little bit sooner each time. We just got to celebrate that. So that's where I'm at today as I record this. I'm saying, okay, you're catching yourself a little bit sooner. It's happening though. So how do we build this internal validation when you've spent your life seeking it from the outside? Here we go. Start with some self-compassion. Boo, hiss. I don't wanna. You're not bad for wanting to be seen. You're not bad for wanting to be loved. You're not bad for wanting to be accepted. That desire is human. We are wired to connect, all of us. We love feeling loved, and validation, it feels like love. The goal isn't to stop wanting validation. It's to stop needing it to feel whole, to be accepting it as love from others rather than a measure of worthiness or deservability, right? It's like on top. It's the whipped cream on the top. Everything else is good, perfect the way it is. And like, hey, yeah, dollop of whipped cream. That's what we're hoping to create when it comes to external validation. That inside, mostly you feel really good. And then when somebody praises you for it, you're like, nice, thanks. But it doesn't change how I feel about myself because I was already there. Here's how this process can look. First, we may be doing some detective work. That's my number one with everybody. I send everybody off whenever we're working on a new thing. And I say, you're the detective. You got to go do all the digging and you're going to bring it to me. You know that awareness is first for everything. We have to know what we're working with before we apply interventions. If we start just tossing tools all around, it creates an environment where sometimes we're failing and becoming dejected because we're not using the correct interventions. We're not hitting the right route. So the detective work is so important. After you do something that you're excited about, ask yourself, do I feel proud of that? Did that feel good and aligned with me and my heart, my soul? Would I still have done this? And would I still be super excited if I never tell anybody about this? If the answer is yes, we are on the right track. It's important to note also, though, that the first one is about being proud of it. And I know that can be tricky. We can sometimes answer no to that because of a perfectionism thing. But that will also tell us what we need to know. All my clients know about the drill down. I annoy it. I annoy them with it in sessions sometimes. The incessant asking of why, because the first 3 or so answers are usually surface level or are programming. So, do I feel proud of that? No. Why don't I feel proud of that? Because it's supposed to be this way. Okay, but why are you unable to understand that this is a process and that you can't do it right the first time sometimes? Well, because I'm frustrated, or I've been taught that makes me smart if I can do it right away, or I'm so used to catching on to everything. I'm feeling really dumb because I haven't caught on yet, right? We just start drilling down until we find out what the real issue is. Then we can start practicing our self-praise in private. Start small. I don't think it has to be only for giant things, or you'll rarely get a chance to practice this if we only wait for big things. So if something happens and you feel good about yourself, try writing it down. Sometimes you can like a victory candle. You could decide you have a victory candle. I don't know where that came from. It just came up right now. Something that you feel like is a ritual for you, and you're speaking it out loud. Maybe you even do some mirror work on it. You give yourself what you would love to get from somebody else. This is a good practice. Now, you don't have to only do this. Again, External validation is fine. We're just trying to not have a dependence on it. So we're trying to balance that out. If I'm cool with like, yeah, man, I like it when people recognize what I did because it was hard work, but you're also recognizing it on your own, it's still fine to do that. We're just not attached to it like I can't be proud until somebody else is proud type stuff. We're going to interrupt the feedback addiction also. Next time that you want to post or share or tell someone just to get praise, like if your whole purpose is like, oh my gosh, like everybody look what I did, pause. We love the pause. And we ask ourselves, would this be meaningful if nobody responds? Like if I put this up here and nobody says anything, am I good with that? If the answer is no, we start to get curious. We start that drill down. Not judgmental, just curious. If the answer is yes, then, we know that we're in a pretty decent place about saying, I'm putting this out there for people maybe who might come across it, but it's fine if I never get anything back from it. Like these podcasts. I've gotten some feedback, but I still love doing it because it feels good to me to put things out there for people to maybe stumble upon. So I don't want to say I don't care, because if I suck at this, I'd like for somebody to tell me that. But I'm not here for the accolades. I'm here for giving people hope and giving people tools that maybe can't sit down with me for an hour a week. Okay. I don't know how I got on that tangent, but we're gonna dial it back. This is why I have to write the script, y'all, because I can't. If I'm just left to my own devices, I'm all over the place. So let's close with some facts. You do not need to be told you are enough for it to be true. You giving authentically is the enough. Other people's reception or lack of is their internal issue. I'm going to say that one again. Other people's reception or lack of is their internal issue. Do not let that overshadow what you know about your own integrity. You don't need applause to feel like you're doing the damn thing. If you are following your heart and soul, truly, the applause is just background noise. That's what we're aiming for here. Your circles matter. If the version of you that did not love yourself created circles of people, it's likely that those will get shaken up when you start to do this work. The people attached to the validation seeker may not receive you the same when you're not participating in that exchange of behaviors anymore. It's okay. It might hurt, but who you surround yourself with does matter. If you spend most of your time around people who are gossipy, judgmental, or self-deprecating, it keeps you in the vibration of external validation through the route of external invalidation. Sneaky, I know, but it's real. This what I'm talking about. It's fucking wild how this comes out in lots of different ways. If you're around people who are constantly invalidating others and being super critical, you're going to absorb some of that. It's going to happen and you'll start doing it to yourself. I know. It's real. It's totally real. Internal validation is not a feeling, really. It's a knowing. It's having a loving relationship with yourself and being in touch with your heart and soul's core. And like all relationships, it takes time, attention, and trust. You do not have to prove you're good to anyone else to believe that you are. You can be proud without performing. You can bask in your own knowing. You're not wrong for wanting to be seen, but you're not only real when someone else shines a light on you. I just want to give y'all a big old hug because I felt that. I hope this episode helped. It's such a big topic, and maybe down the road there will be a branch off with some more specifics. I do feel like I didn't touch nearly enough of this. I feel like there's a lot of scenarios that I could go into, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll that's what I'll do is, kind of a drill down on that and do some validation when it comes to certain relationships. And I'm definitely going to save the romantic ones for some other time. If you found this helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with anyone that you think might benefit from it. As always, take care of yourself, and thank you for letting me be your guide today. Thanks for listening. To learn more about what I do and how to work with me, head to thepsychgym.com to check it out. Keep lifting, y'all. It's worth it.